It's so much fun to have Dr. Leon Burke III with me. He is the guest conductor for the Gateway Festival Orchestra, their first two concerts. Hello, Leon.
Well, hello, Kathy. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, fresh back from Paraguay.
Yes, indeed. I was down there. The people who listen to my radio show regularly know that I was down there conducting Rachmaninoff's Second Symphony with an orchestra that wasn't, shall we say, a regular orchestra. It was kind of the student orchestra, but the concert came off pretty great. Now I'm ready to work with the professionals of Gateway.
Ah, and I know that you will have a ball, despite the fact it may not be the Rachmaninoff second. It is still a terrific season that you have, and it's really designed to come and enjoy great music on a Sunday afternoon, evening in a lovely space. Now, the first one is outside, the second one is inside.
Inside.
Two sites that you all have been using. This first one is going to be at the Quad, the Brookings Quadrangle at Washington
Yes.
University.
Picnicking.
For picnicking, absolutely. And
Yes.
then the second concert is at the 560 building. Now, this happens to be the 60th anniversary season.
And you know, that's one of the things when people reminded me, because I believe the first time I went to a Gateway Festival Orchestra concert, they were 5 years old. Yes, I've been going there for more than 50 years. So I kind of had an idea it was getting up there. And the members of the board were whispering in my ear saying, "Hey, can we do some of the pieces that we did way back then?" And me being a sentimental softie, I said, "Of course we can." And so some of the programming reflects that, but also some other more updated selections as well.
How long have you been conducting the orchestra, Gateway Festival?
Well, I've just been brought in as a guest conductor. I think this is my third time, and I always have a good time with the musicians, most of whom are dear friends. And it's nice that we can all make music together,
Yeah.
and everyone is a wonderful professional. It's just one of my favorites.
It's interesting. We have so much richness of musicality here in St. Louis, and we have so many people who are professionals or semi-professionals and just devoted amateurs. We have such high quality, even in those orchestras that may not be unionized. It's just a real joy, the camaraderie with our fellow musicians.
It's wonderful. There are times when we can just really rise above and really sound professional. We have exquisite moments. The orchestra makes music.
Amen.
That's what I love.
Speaking of music, let's give our audience a little peek into these two concerts. We're going to start with the first one on Sunday, July 7th at 7:30 p.m. in the Brookings Quad on the campus of Washington University. 60 Years Under the Stars is the name of the concert itself. And you have a violin soloist. Tell us about this.
Oh, my goodness. Well, my good friend, Matt Pickard, he's a wonderful colleague as well, plays the ever living daylights out of this Tchaikovsky concerto, which is a surefire audience favorite. Let me tell you, after the first movement, there's applause erupting. And because the second and third movements are elided, they follow without a pause. Some people say, I was expecting three movements. I only heard two. And that's just one of the things I get a chance to alert the audience to, because beforehand, we have at 7:10 p.m. notes to munch on. So that's the kind of thing I get a chance to alert the audience to. So everyone's not wondering at the end, is it over? That concerto is really an audience favorite no matter when. And you know, John Moirer, one of our viola players, wrote the Gateway Fanfare and March for the orchestra. And so I had to include that as the opening to the season.
Of course you did. And you know, I've known John for years and years. It's so nice to see him get into composing and all. Lovely man. Yeah.
Great guy. I've only known him for about 10 years at most, because St. Louis is a big place.
Yes, it is. But our music community is a tight-knit bunch. Well, that's great that you're going to do John's Gateway Fanfare in March and then the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto.
Intermission. Oh, hey, that's where we get into our fun stuff. And a lot of it comes from the early days of the Gateway Festival Orchestra, because I happen to know which ones were Dr. Schatzkammer's faves.
Aha.
So we loaded them up. We have two overtures. Maybe the audience will think that we're making overtures to them. We want them to keep coming and bring
Absolutely.
friends. The Light Cavalry Overture, which a lot of people will know from cartoons.
Hmm.
So if you say Light Cavalry Overture, who's this Franz von Suppé? You'll recognize the tunes. And I'm doing the overture to A Midsummer Night's Dream because we will be in the middle of a midsummer night. And maybe by then we'll be able to put some of the kids to sleep with A Midsummer Night's Dream,
I don't
even
know,
though
as
it's a,
sprightly as that can be in times, it's
oh,
just
oh
so,
my
it's
goodness.
delicious.
I'm looking forward to the rehearsal when the violins go, oh no, this, because it's picky, it's fast.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm going to try to end with things that are a little bit more familiar because I know that Dr. Schatzkammer always used to love musicals. Back then it was Lerner and Loewe and Rodgers and Hammerstein. And nowadays things are different. So I want to do a medley from Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Nice.
Everybody loves it, from kids through adults. The Phantom has just captured the public's imagination.
It
And so
has.
I couldn't leave it out.
Mm-mm.
And another phenomenon as a movie, which I know Dr. Schatzkammer always used to like to do themes from movies with the orchestra. We're doing a medley from the Pirates of the Caribbean by Hans Zimmer. So I think
Yay.
it's a very well rounded program.
I do too. And there's something in there for everybody. And I think the kids, even though the younger ones might be asleep, the slightly older kids are going to go, oh, yeah, with the pirates. That's
Oh yeah,
always
they'll
fun.
recognize it. They will recognize it, and the orchestra I know is going to do a slam bang up job.
Oh, I know they will too, because Zimmer writes with such color and imagination. Once again, this is going to be Sunday, July 7th at 7:30 p.m. at the Brookings Quadrangle at Washington
Yes,
University. And if you're not sure where to park, may I suggest go to the website gatewayfestivalorchestra.org. It's all written out, gatewayfestivalorchestra.org, because there is also a little map and directions for where to park and how to park so that you have fewer steps and less worry about your car.
that is great advice because parking can be problematic
Mhm.
around a major protected university space.
Mhm.
So great advice.
And of course, bring the kids, bring a picnic, bring a blanket, lawn chairs, whatever makes you comfy because it's a
Amen.
family night out.
Amen.
Okay, that is Sunday, July 7th at 7:30 p.m. at Washington University, Brookings Quadrangle. But get there early because you don't want to miss Leon's Notes to Munch On at 7:10 p.m.
7:10. Yeah, it'll just be a couple of words, just informal, not 10 minutes, light and breezy.
Right, just kind of what to listen
Yeah.
for. Yeah. Now, the second concert that you are conducting is in a different location, the 560 Music Center at
Yes.
560 Trinity Avenue in U City. Gosh, we've known that as Casa. Before that, it was known as a synagogue. It's been a lot of different things. Go through the gates of U City with the two lions, and there it is.
The Lions Gate right there across from City Hall and the police station. You really can't miss it.
And there's also a nice parking garage behind that as well, which is very
Yes.
helpful. And that's all on that website. This particular concert, which is Sunday, July 14th at
Mm-hmm.
7:30 p.m.,
Mm-hmm.
it's a night of nostalgia. Two GFO Gateway Festival Orchestra young artists, Elizabeth Myers, bassoonist, and Aidan Moon, violinist.
Oh, yes. The musical world for youth in St. Louis is kind of small, but it's very talented. I remember when I was in high school, that's the way it was. And everyone who was anybody was in the St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra once Leonard founded it. Everyone knew who the hot players were and who you had to beat out, who you had to practice harder than, all these things. And over a process of the 4 years that kids are in high school, different kids bubble to the top as the cream as often as every year. And this year, the people who bubbled up to us, the cream of the young talent in St. Louis, was, I'm proud to say, a bassoon player. The bassoons are just so rarely spotlighted,
I agree. They need more attention.
And of course, the familiar term, as we call them, the clown of the orchestra, only because the sound of the bassoons just seems so unlikely, and Berlioz uses it in a comedic context. It's much more serious when there's this whole section of the Verdi Requiem that has the bassoons, tremens factus sum ego, be
Yes.
very afraid of death. And the bassoon, and of course, that's the lead instrument for the Alfred Hitchcock hour, the Gounod Funeral
Death
March
of
of
a
the
Marionette.
Marionette. These are some wonderful things I hope that highlight the often neglected bassoon. And she plays like a house of fire. Let me tell you, I've already done this with her this season, and I'm looking
And
forward to it. I'm glad to see that the board saw fit to elect them as GFO artists.
she's going to be playing Carl Maria von Weber's Bassoon Concerto in F major. That's a challenging piece.
It is. And also, in a note, in the first year of the Gateway Festival Orchestra, our dear friend Bob Mottle played it with the orchestra.
Dear
This
Bob.
fits in with that trying to do the same things from 60 years ago.
So cool. Now, let me ask you a quick question. The whole concert starts off with Mikhail Glinka's Ruslan and Ludmilla overture.
Yes.
Was that one of the ones that was an original as well?
That used to be one of Willie's favorites because you just basically keep it going and you just rely on the orchestra to just strut their stuff. It's really a brilliant overture, just a great curtain raiser, get you into a concert. And that's why I put it there, because I figure a nice, exhilarating opening.
Yeah, which sets up Elizabeth Myers for that gorgeous bassoon concerto in F by
Carl Maria von Weber, who was one of the innovators in writing for woodwinds in his time.
was. I'm
Haydn and Mozart had just added clarinet to symphonic instrumentation. These instruments had different keying systems. They were out of tune with each other, out of tune with themselves. And people like Carl Maria von Weber knew the technicians. And once those problems were solved, making the instrument more practical for the orchestra, they were able to adopt it. And people like Carl Maria von Weber, writing concerti for such instruments, convinced composers and audiences alike that these were wonderful instruments. Goodness,
After the
yes.
von Weber, then we have some Schubert.
Yes, something that you don't hear every day anymore. When I was growing up, you heard the unfinished symphony like several times a year. Now, not so much. So I decided to bring back one of those things that Dr. Schatzkammer used to love to do. And that's maybe something for the future if they have me back. Investigate what are those old war horses that we all know and love that aren't played anymore.
Good point.
Maybe a whole concert, if not practically a whole season of that. But the
And
Schubert Unfinished Symphony, I think everywhere when you do music appreciation classes in college, that's one of the symphonies they always teach.
did you ever have the memory hook? This is the symphony, the one that Schubert never finished.
Oh, yes, with those words. Don't get me going, or else we'll get into other words that are not necessarily good.
We'll keep it family listening here.
Yeah, we will. But yes, everyone knew those words because that made it easier to remember the tune. Good thing. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that was one of the first pieces of music I ever played in band, believe it or not. As a freshman in high school, playing flute in my high school band, we would do a transcription of the Unfinished Symphony. I grew to
Hmm.
love it. Bought the score.
Well, after that is a barn burner, Leonard Bernstein's Overture to Candide.
Oh, you betcha. That piece, I mean, I think only because Bernstein taught it to the New York Philharmonic. All you have to do, no matter who you are, is give a downbeat and they just play it the way Leonard taught them. It's just one of those things. It's a brilliant overture. Audiences love it, and orchestras like to play it, although it's a little tricky. So I've got to mind my P's and Q's here because the orchestra really needs me in spots to
Yeah.
navigate places in seven.
The splashes of humor in the rhythm. That's what makes
Yes.
it so intriguing, and you have to laugh almost to hear it.
Oh, yes. Surely this is the best of all possible worlds, as says Dr. Pangloss all through Candide. Oh, yeah. This piece is just always an audience pleaser. Always, always. And speaking of audience pleasers, we're following with the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, which I'm sure was in the first year or two because I remember friends from the St. Louis Symphony Youth Orchestra playing that piece. And I even remember, if listeners remember the Ted Mack original Amateur Hour,
Yes.
I remember Yitzhak Perlman doing the first movement as a mere kid,
I
fresh
had
into this
forgotten
country from
that.
Israel. It's amazing.
I
It's one of
had
those pieces.
That's got to be somewhere up on YouTube. I'm going to have to go look for that. The violin concerto is going to be played by Aidan Moon, violinist.
Who
Anything to say
plays the
about
ever
Aidan?
living daylights out of it. Let me tell you, it's technically brilliant and it's extremely musical. And, that's the kind of performance that you get when you go to Powell Hall for a major violinist. And
No,
Aiden has gone toe to toe with this piece and emerges the victor. Let me tell you.
that is great. Mendelssohn had such a way with melody. And
Oh,
that's one
yes.
of those ones that you cannot help but hear it. And it's in your head now for the next week and a half because
Amen.
it's such a gorgeous violin concerto.
I love it myself. I love to do the whole concerto, not just the first movement, but that's okay. We only have time for the first movement with Aiden.
Oh, oh, I'm so sorry because I'd love to hear the rest of it as well. Well, that's all right, Aiden. I'm sure we'll have it prepared where he can maybe do it with the U City or something. Who knows? But
He already has.
oh, well,
When we see the talented kid, we try to make sure that the public gets a chance to hear them really fly with an orchestra.
that's fabulous. That first movement will really fly with the Gateway Festival Orchestra. The next thing is a lot of fun from Leroy Anderson. You have audience favorites.
The Blue Tango, which is one of my favorites. They talk of the tango, the dance of unbridled passion, and this is just smoldering. Da 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 dee, da 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 da. Oh, it's just so wonderful. And I'm pairing that with the syncopated clock, something different. I'm sure that many people who grew up in St. Louis in the audience will remember this as the theme from, I think it was the early show. And we'd be waiting with the TV on, waiting for this theme to come on. And we knew, oh, our movie's about to begin. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So the syncopated clock, something nostalgic. And I know that Dr. Schatzkammer had a really soft place in his heart for all the music of Leroy Anderson. After the syncopated clock, we
Uh-huh.
turn to music for kids of all ages, from 3 to 100. The Henry Mancini theme from the Pink Panther. I just love it because it starts off and ends so sneakily. And in the middle, the big band just wails. It's wonderful. And I look forward to doing this with this orchestra because I know they're going to really deliver everything that this arrangement has to offer.
It is an iconic theme. I mean, you
Indeed.
hear the first two notes and people go, oh, Pink Panther. We've heard it
Yes.
as the cartoon. We've heard it from the original films with Peter Sellers.
In the cartoons, most of the kids will know that are there. Classical music for the kids. There's no dialogue whatsoever.
No,
It's just the Pink Panther doing his thing, and here's this music. And so I can imagine 5-year-olds going, Mama, I know that. I know that piece. And that's what I want to do. I want to offer people the joy of music as I've experienced it. And I just want to share the joy that music can bring to a person.
amen. Bring the kids to this.
Come early, have a picnic outside on the lawn,
Yeah.
and then come on into the air conditioning.
Which will probably feel good because it is, after all, July 14th at the 560 Music Center. And don't forget at 7:10, Notes to Munch On.
Yes,
And Leon
indeed.
will let you know what to listen for in the concert. Once again, there is great parking. There's a new garage there.
It's on the back side. Come in on Trinity, then turn left on Washington, and then you will see the parking structure, and you say, "Oh, I didn't know this was here."
It's a great addition because it serves not only the 560, it also serves Coca. And
Yes,
it is free, as are these concerts, free. And that's a wonderful thing our community does. A lot of things that are open to the public, free, that you can afford to bring the kids, especially right now because the buckos are a little bit tight right now.
oh yeah, Doesn't go as far as it used to.
No, sir. Information is available at gatewayfestivalorchestra.org.
ORG.
You betcha. And Leon, Dr. Leon Burke III, guest conductor with the Gateway Festival Orchestra, thank you so much for telling us all about the fun stuff that's happening with the GFO this summer, Sundays in July at
Yes.
7:30 p.m. Come early because you want to catch the notes to munch on as you are having your picnic.
You can munch on food and munch on notes.
You betcha. Leon, always a delight. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Kathy. Good to see you.